I'm going to start this picture of red sailing boats, but using as a multimedia technique with some tissue papers stuck on the surface to give texture, and then painting on top. But first of all, I found a frame. The picture I'm painting this time, I'm making it square as the original was. I found a square frame. Here's the mount that it fits into, so I'm going to work with that. And then I've cut down the, or not cut down, drawn around the piece of paper to give me the square picture that I want to paint with. I'll use the side pieces, these over here, for samples of paint. And I've drawn not very much because it's going to be covered with tissue paper. With acrylic it'll all be covered up anyhow, but I did want to get a sense of where the skyline is, where the sea starts, and the jutting out headland. So that's really, oh, and the rocks at the bottom, so because they could be thicker texture. So that's all I've drawn. Oh, and it gave me a centre point which told me where the boat was going to be positioned, because it's very much in the centre of this square picture. So I'm now going to find some tissue paper and get ready to stick some all over the surface of this. So I've moved to a flat table, which is easier to work with, and got some old tissue paper patterns which I've torn up. I shall be crinkling some of them up to give a texture, some water and some all-purpose PVA glue, and an old brush that I can use for pasting on. And at the moment I've mixed a little bit of water with the glue, but not too much. Now I've started to tear the tissue up and stick it down. What I do is I glue the paper first and then crinkle that up and stick it down, and then use glue on the top. This will also help to make a surface which will be much easier to put acrylic paint on top. So now I've covered the whole of the surface, lots of texture at the bottom. Try to give a sort of straightish line where the sky meets the sea, and some more texture where the hills will be. It now needs to be put out in that lovely sunshine for half an hour or so to dry thoroughly before I can start painting. Well, I've set up here with some daylight this time, ready to paint. The tissue paper has dried. It's actually the following day. I'm about to just plot out the main lines, the horizon, the hills, and maybe just where the boats, possibly not, but certainly where the rocks are, before I can actually start painting. I'm going to paint thinly because I want the tissue paper to show through at the moment. I've now blocked in with blue for the sky and white, trying to cover some of the marks that are on the pattern tissue paper, the numbers and the lines. I've mixed ultramarine and yellow to make the green that's on the cliffs, and over here I've mixed some burnt sienna and cadmium red with a little bit of white, which was for the rocks, which you can see here. I then lightened it a bit to give the shades, and lightened it even further to give the sides of the buildings on the top of the cliffs, so the whole thing has a sort of continuity. If you look at the original, that's what I'm working with. And that's the sort of colours that I've managed to grab on my painting. I'm going to now let it dry, have some lunch and come back to it later. Well, I've done some more work, painted in the rocks, put some more textures on the sea and on the grass, put in the chimneys. I mixed some purple paint with the other colours I've got, so I'm still using a restricted palette, and even the dark rocks were made using purple, the blues and some of the burnt sienna, so it's giving a warmish dark colour. There's no black at all in the picture. I'm now going to let it completely dry and then get a brush, finer brush, because I now need to paint the boats in and some of the detail on the houses. I'm still keeping it fairly light and not overworked. So I think I'll go off for a swim now, come back completely refreshed, and put the final detail and touches onto this painting. So this is my finished painting. As you can see, I've added the boats, some detail in the buildings in the distance, and a little bit more onto the sea, but try not to put too much detail in, just to give a sort of feeling of the movement and reflections and the surf. I did use the texture that I got from the tissue paper to give me some of the movement and the spray and splashes that you can see in the water. So reasonably pleased with it.